Hey, everybody, welcome back to Trading Brains, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything. We always touch upon a lot of subjects, sometimes with segments, but we just want to welcome you back to the show and let you know that we have episodes coming out every Friday at 1 p.m. And if you ever have any questions about the show or even suggestions of what we talk about, you can reach us at tradingbrainspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's tradingbrainspodcast@gmail.com. And so I'm going to let my co-host, Angelo, over here, uh, introduce us to today's topic and today's guest.
Oh, thank you for that intro, Evan. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm your co-host, Angelo Messina, and we have a lovely guest, and Bobby. What?
Appreciate that.
You're not
Welcome,
so
welcome,
lovely.
welcome,
And
welcome.
he's gonna help us out and try to kind of go at it about mental health and why it's so important in society today, and it's growing. And I feel like so many people have their emotion; they don't know what to do about it or how to use it, or for their personal gain, or as well as for the public. And Bobby's here to gonna help us out and you guys to understand a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So I just want to pose one question for the beginning to Bobby. Like, what do you think are the key elements in what affects somebody's mental health, right? So, like somebody who has poor mental health, what sort of environmental factors do you think would be present, and maybe even kind of like internal factors?
Well, first of all, if you guys didn't hear me, thank you guys for having me. Like seriously, for the
Oh
record,
yeah, of course. It's a
yeah,
pleasure.
this is like a really it's a really awesome experience just to even be part of like a podcast. Even you know what I mean? Like it's all like a first for me. So for that man, like it's really just an honor just to be with you guys, just to even be able to do all this. So thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
with that said, as far as like mental health is concerned, man, I think it's if you really just like look at like the basics of it or whatever, it's a lot of stuff that we can all relate to. You know, like when it comes to like the stuff that we go through, you know, we can all relate when it comes to like a struggle. You know, whether it be through one's upbringing, whether it be through like some type of situation like bullying or like abuse. You know, like when somebody I don't know like picks on you or whatever. Like it could be so low. It's just like I don't know, like just even like how you walk a certain way or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
we live in such a time right now, bro, where it's like all the things that we have going on are so heightened that it creates like a certain sense of pressure. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's like an unintentional type of pressure because it's like at the end of the day when it comes to like things like social media, for example, the fact that we're able to like express the things that we have going on anything and everything to be able to express on that platform. It should be a way of like connecting and bringing people together, and it is because we wouldn't even be doing this right now in such a way. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's it's crazy. Like when you look back on like the beginning of YouTube and all these things, like how it really brung an entire like globe more closer together and being able to explore more deeply into the stuff that we have going on in our everyday lives. And it's the same stuff that's been going on since before you and I ever
Yeah.
existed, you know?
I know for
So,
sure, like, and this is kind of not really like on mental health, but um, back in the day without YouTube, if you wanted to look at what it's like to actually go to a foreign country, right, for vacation or whatever, like, you can't just look at some vlogger on YouTube as you can now because there's hundreds of them per country. But, back in the day, you had to get like one of those tour guide books or
yep.
look at a textbook even, to
You
really
have you have to get
understand
doing
where it
research.
is and where you're going. Yeah.
Now
Yep.
there's personal vloggers or like people who just have their travel
Yeah.
guide from I went to India for a straight month. This is what I did. You should go
Yeah.
here and tell you every step of the way on where to go, what to eat, what to expect. If you
Yeah, man.
meet scammers or anything like that as well.
But bringing it back to mental health a little bit, um, like with you touched upon social media. How do you think the emergence of social media has affected like young people? I feel like a lot of middle schoolers and high schoolers kind of deal with bullying and I mean, I guess just that period of time in their lives differently than, say, even us or, people who are older than us.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that aspect, you got a lot of people, you got a lot of these young guys, it's so easy to like create a platform based off of the stuff that they do, but then, how other people perceive it. And, you take for example, like if somebody, I don't know, like fell on the floor or whatever, or fell down a flight of stairs,
Mm-hmm.
homie could homie could probably just be like really going through a rough time that day or whatever, and it's just like, dang man, I didn't want that shit to like happen. And you got guys laughing at him and everything. One person probably recorded it and whatnot. Then afterwards, homie goes, probably does like a meme out of that whole fall and everything, posted it on Instagram and all social media. Next thing you know, it's like everybody's talking about like, yo, bro, man, that shit is just wild. And then he's still trying to like get over it and everything. So it's just when it comes to like those things or whatever, yeah. And granted, what's even more crazy is that we watch these type of videos like almost all the time, but then you really gotta like stop to think like, dang, did that person actually really want to be like on this whole entire like meme or whatever? Like he probably had like a rough day. Lord knows he was probably like going through mad nonsense. Now all of a sudden he fell down a flight of stairs, his whole like knee is busted and everything. It's like,
so are you
it's
saying it's like Jackass, where like he's not really voluntarily doing it, he just feels an obligation to do it because of like precedent? So like he's already done these kinds of videos, so he has to keep doing them where he's hurting himself, or
like typically when it comes to that, I mean, like I don't even think he was trying to do a video at the time. I think homie was like chilling, and like he probably just let it be or whatever. And maybe like throughout the rest of the video, he just wanted to keep it on such a serious thing of him, like just like going through every day, like there could be so much different like situations or ways to like describe or critique what he was going through. But at the end of the day, you can never know, you know what I mean? And it's just like for another person to go and take what he did and make it like a sort of like, way of promoting something that he didn't really want, like to make a mockery out of him in a sense, you know what I mean? It's like, it's pretty much case in point.
I mean, but our society does that all the time, right? I mean, you even see it in the Joker movie, where Murray puts Joker up on his show, right?
Yeah. And it's funny how you mention that, because like I love that movie a lot. Just the way how like the build of when you see Arthur Fleck going through his everyday life, and not a single freaking person ever gave that man any type of like freaking empowerment, growth, or whatever. It's just mockery all throughout.
Yeah.
I have not seen the new Joker.
That's crazy, bro.
That's
really?
your problem, bro. Like, what's wrong with you?
Oh my god.
Ouch. Okay.
Bro, if you really want to just see
Sorry, Angelo.
just watch that movie, fam.
Yeah, well, honestly, I mean, it is a good reflection on how not to do mental health, like how you shouldn't do it. But
I mean, yeah, of course. Like it's not. God, knock on wood. I don't want anybody doing like an actual interpretation of that.
Yeah.
But
no.
But when you really just like dive into like what a person like goes through, and like I said, like for that character Arthur Fleck, and I don't want to like spoil too much for you because it's a really dope movie to see. A lot of people still talking about it, but just like the build of how a character was just going through the most craziest of nonsense, and how far it can drive a person to just saying, you know what, screw it, fam. If you guys are not going to accept me for who I am or what I'm trying to do, or any of the little shit that I'm trying to like put out there to like be known, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? And in a sense, bro, like when you like see the ending of it, dude, and I don't know, maybe you could probably like agree with me or like chime in on this, Evan, but that scene where he was outside and like like everybody was like cheering for him and everything, just that moment, bro, in that movie, that's the only thing I will say to you or spoil to you about that, Angelo. But just that one scene where everybody was like surrounding him and like embracing that, it's like, just imagine that type of energy that you can do for yourself or with anybody, you know what I mean? Like it's just all based on how you perceive life and how
Yeah, that has to do with like, the external validation or whatever. And I don't know, with my values and my ethics, like I don't believe for a second that what he did was justifiable. It's understandable, but I don't think it's justifiable.
No, not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a scary thing, you know, but at the same time, it's one of those things that it happens, bro, throughout life. You know what I mean? You look at some of these like leaders that we have today,
Mm-hmm.
and while we follow like normal American values, or at least for me, I'm being born here. I followed all of the American values. You know what I mean? I to this day never really looked at race, and if anything, now at 30, I see race so differently as just a facade of real ignorance. That's just being brought upon like one another. I don't know how you can go back 200 years ago to like how like when the country was founded and how slavery was being formed and all that, and we can go through a whole bunch of scripture that dates back to the Bible and all that. But when you really look at it for what it is, bro, it's just complete ignorance that nobody can trace it back to. It's just, to this day, nobody's going to acknowledge the fact that what we have been fighting over is complete nonsense. And we don't even know why we're still like going at it in the first place. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, I mean, again, this is just me spitting in the wind, but I'm pretty sure it started with like, tribes being like, no, these are hunting grounds, and like, small tribes
Territorial.
having tribal warfare,
Yeah.
right? And then eventually growing into towns and cities and populations, and then it just kind of like heightened, the tensions between all of them. So
Well,
it's
always.
just like carrying that memory, right, of the conflict, of the violence. Uh,
But you're always going to have people going to be jealous to one another about something. He has this, or he
right.
has something better than another person, and I want it. And they're going
Mhm.
to trying to find a way to get that. And let's just say person A rubs it in that, oh, I have the bigger plot of land than you. That
Right.
person B is going to find a way to either one, take it by killing him, or two, trying to buy him off and trying to see if he has the money to buy him out, or see any other opposite way.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it
Yeah.
just sounds like a lot of greed. You know what I mean? And just with that, when you're trying to have this opinion where you are absolute and you are higher than everything else, and that there is nothing that you need to like learn
Yeah.
or
More sacred than your needs, more sacred than your
yeah,
wants. Yeah.
it's like you just basically like you feel like you overshadow and you are above everything else, and that you don't need to learn anything, and it's like that's just
That's a
complete.
psychopath.
Yeah, that's that right there is just very dull and can lead you to a lot of nonsense. It can, I don't know, crazy.
But so, like, how does one try to improve their mental well-being as an individual, and like, how do they like, if there a way to like seek out help for others?
Oh man, I think it's so easy now that it just all comes down to choice in the matter, because at the end
Mm.
of the day,
A
well,
willingness to accept that you can be better, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough because like for me, I can go here right now and say it's really easy and it's accessible, but sometimes like when it comes to one another, especially to like the people that you truly care about, you would go that extra mile to make sure that they get that help that they need. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like to you, bro, like, and I'm sure we can all relate. Like we have people in our life that truly matter. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
going off the top of the dome. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to the two of you, it's like I think about Ryan, who's my cousin,
Right.
and you know what I mean. Like had it not been for Ryan, I would have never been able to like grow and get to know you guys, and to even be able to get to where we are now. You know what I mean? So it's like with that sense, it's like being around you guys for that long and embracing that type of love that we all that I share for you both, and just like always challenging each other to like be able to like grow in the things that we're doing and the things that we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do for ourselves together. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff, bro. It's like that's all
Yeah.
growth right there.
I
That's
mean,
how we can improve.
I think I don't maybe I could speak for Angelo here, but I always want to be my best self, and part of being my best self is bringing out the best in the people around me. because that just serves as fuel for me to improve myself, right? Because it's like it's a positive cycle loop, right? It's a feedback loop where if I'm doing well, then I want the people around me to be doing well, and I want the people around me to want to be doing well, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how it is. That's why you got to surround yourself with positive minded people and reinforce that in yourself.
Yeah, and once you like really realize more and appreciate, because you know what I mean, like when it comes to like life, now I feel like really like again like not enough to really appreciate the little things that matter. Again, like the fact that we're here right now doing this, being around this type of like energy and everything like that.
And
It's
we
a
don't have to
constant
worry
reminder
about
every day.
mountain lions or like being hunted or just
Yeah,
anything. We live in a very comfortable society, and so yeah,
yeah.
we should always be grateful for that.
Yeah, and with that, it's like we need to go and spread that, amongst other people whenever we get that opportunity, any way we see fit. It could be something as small as just helping somebody across the street, or just being able to like,
Hmm.
um, just give them a napkin to like, help them wipe their face off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or
Like,
like volunteer.
yeah, volunteer, bro. Like, there's so many good things that we can do throughout an entire 24-hour lifespan, bro. And it's like, you just really have to like think about it from a deeper point of view for you. You know what I mean? The main thing is, man, like when it comes to doing dope things and when it comes to having good energy, you have to make sure that you're doing this for you. This is not about the platform. This is not about a video. This is not about gaining followers or influence. You got to make sure that
Right.
you're doing everything for your best interests and for your well-being. Because if it's anything else, man, then you're just gonna slowly deplete yourself, and you're gonna get to a point where, just like in the Joker movie and many other things that you see in life, you're gonna go through it, and it's gonna
Right.
drive you mad, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could go one of two ways. Like, I think Angela and I, we've done this podcast been doing it for a while, and we both enjoy it. We decided from the start that this would be just kind of a project that we would do without any concern for the money or the fame or whatever. We just thought it would be an interesting thing to do. And if we decide that, maybe it isn't for us later on down the road, that's okay because people can change and people's interests change. But for right now, we really enjoy doing it, and we're glad to have you on, to talk together about mental health and how to improve that for people, because I know in the U.S. right now it's a huge issue.
It's spreading the awareness of it for individual, and like people don't know what's going on in their past, and they don't know how to affect or change their personal being.
Right.
It only takes one person to flip that switch on being either I'm not just like being upset to happy, and it could be like the smallest thing ever. It could be just smelling a cup of coffee or bread or home baked goods from mom, dad,
Yeah,
uncle, whoever it is, or someone lending a hand. Hey, let's get up, let's go out for a run, let's
Yeah.
do something. You know what I mean? Get
yeah,
out of the shell and try and do something, stepping outside that comfort zone
yeah,
that a lot of people don't like to cross that imaginary line. And I feel like when people start crossing that comfort zone and trying to be like out there, like taking a little bit more risk to be a
Yeah.
better person, I feel like then that individual can improve on themselves. That then he or she will have the confidence to help out others and spread that basically wealth in the sense that wealth is not money and whatever. Wealth is just being confident in oneself.
Yeah. Yeah. To tack on to what you just said, about going outside of your comfort zone, that's absolutely true, and I think a lot of the scientific research proves that if you put yourself on the border between what you know and what you don't know, and that's like that is the line of where you can grow and extend yourself and extend your capabilities. That's where people feel the most happiness, because they're understanding that they're growing, that they're improving, that they're exerting more control on the world around them, in a positive sense, right? um, and if you only stick with what that's it's a very fearful existence, right? Because the world is always changing, so we need to always be constantly growing so that we can adapt to the changes in our external environment. um, so yeah,
so
that's just my addition onto that point.
so true.
I also think like we could talk about fundamentals, right? Making sure you have a good sleep schedule. That it's consistent, right? I know it does wonders for not only mental health but also physical health. If you need a certain amount of hours, get that amount of hours. And when I say a certain amount, I mean the amount you sleep without an alarm clock waking you on average for like a week, right? Angela, looks like you might need some sleep. Good timing, yeah. And proper diet. Of course, everybody talks about that. Look, if finances are tight, I get it. You just gotta eat for today and get to the next day. But if you can spend the money, fruits and vegetables, and just try to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And exercise. Exercise has like an anti-aging effect actually, and it keeps your brain stimulated and releases a bunch of endorphins that keeps you relaxed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It de-stresses you. So
makes you happy as well after you get outside a good workout.
yeah, you feel good about yourself after you do that, because you
That's
put yourself under stress and you could prove to yourself that like, oh, I was able to handle that.
Well, like a lot of people, if some people like create these like mini tasks throughout the day, they actually feel accomplished at the end of the day when they did out of five. They let's just say they did four out of that five. There's like, oh, I didn't do that last one, but now for the next day they'll try to do that fifth one and more, and try to push themselves every day. And that is actually like a big key on mental health. What I feel like, in the sense of like being able to have the endurance mentally to be tackling it on for when you're down, kind of like, okay, I need to do this. This is actually going to be good for me, and kind of like starting a business, starting a podcast, kind of like putting that grind. The grind is not what people see these videos. The grind is basically trying to coordinate these episodes. What time of the day can we all meet up at the same time? And when it doesn't work, frustration happens, anger, um like words get out like that you don't mean, but like you just are frustrated about the situation. What can you do to, one, prevent it, or two, overcome the object? Like, what are you allowed to go around it? Are you going to go under it? Or are you going to go over it? And you're trying to think of ways to overcome that. And that's what a lot of people is: either you give up and this is not working out and you stop, or you complete it. And then you feel a lot better when after this episode's over, you're just like, okay, great. I feel accomplished. I did something that I wanted to do in my agenda today. What's next? And you set up the next goal. And that's the beginning. A vicious cycle becomes into the key to success. I feel like it's constantly creating these mini tasks for everyone.
Yeah, it's a journey, man. I really feel that it's really all a journey that like you're really doing within yourself. Because I love comic books and I love video games, and it's like I love story based video games. Like my favorite game is Assassin's Creed because of like Assassin's Creed 2 particularly, because the whole Ezio Auditore saga like really revolved around him, having the love of his family. And if for those of you out there who don't really know Assassin's Creed, but dude basically grew up in Italy, loved his family gets murdered and everything, really.
He's a teenager.
Yeah, teenager
basically.
And everything. Yeah. And then basically, his uncle was one of the key forefathers to the era of assassins, out there. So grew and got into the ranks, and he went on a journey, and it was more of a journey of bringing people together, because around that time, in Italy, they had these people called the Templars who were basically trying to structure and kind of control like order among how people lived in that society or whatever.
Well,
So
using theocracy, right?
yeah,
Or like religious, yeah.
yeah. So like when you really like look at like when you really look at like stories like that, and then like you watch like the movies and like comic books like the Avengers, DC Comics, I love the Avengers movie because it showed a group of people, not only having like amazing abilities, unique abilities, you know what I mean, coming together to like fighting a crazy like worldwide catastrophe happening. And it's like when you really think about that, and then when you think about like what we're going through right now, with this whole thing with between suicides and like, all this racism and injustice or whatever.
The opium epidemic, opioid epidemic.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff that we go through like globally between obviously what's going on with the coronavirus and then even just individually when it comes to like our depression, our, abuse, the things that we have tendency to do like on a daily basis, like overthink, overreact, you know, it's deep.
What do you think? What do you think about the balance that some people may want to take between, more holistic approaches to improving mental health, right? So depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff, and also psychophysiological medicines. So like antidepressants or SSRIs.
Um, for me, like holistic is always the best approach. Obviously, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Holistic can be something as little as just like changing your routine of like what you do in the day. So like for example, like I used to been like overweight. I used to been at one point I was like 245 or whatever. Now, you know, 2 years later, I'm still at the target weight that I wanted to be in, which was like 185. So right now I'm like 187, which I weighed myself like about 3 days ago.
Right.
So through that, it was consistent on number one, just drinking lots of water. You know what I mean? Like,
So it's changing your habits.
yeah, changing your
Yeah.
habits is like one thing, and water can really contain a lot of like benefits for you throughout the day, as opposed to you drinking something like orange juice or like 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 any type of juice
Has
or whatever.
sugar.
Drinking coffee, all that excess
Yeah,
sugar
yeah.
and everything.
Well, the thing is like if you drink fruit juice now, it's mostly sugar. It's
Yeah,
not actual fruit juice.
yeah. But I mean, like, not even like with just water or anything, but it's just like for you specifically, when you're doing small things to improve your well-being of when you get up in the morning. So even when, as far as like you work throughout the day and you're going to sleep at night, you know what I mean? It really improves your mental focus and everything because it's like, wow, yo, I can't believe I just lost all this weight. Like, I wonder what else I could do, with all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, your
It
quality of
gives you
sleep goes up
curiosity.
too.
Yeah,
Because if you're overweight, you tend to snore, and that or you'll get apnea, and that disrupts your sleep. So
yep,
you feel
yep,
better rested.
yeah, all those factors, most definitely. And it's like those machines and everything, like it could work, but you have to make sure that you're active in order for you to improve if you want to see improvement. A lot of people here, like they'll take these machines and they take these medicines, but if you're not doing anything active throughout the day and you're just a couch potato or whatever, it's like your body is slowly deteriorating,
Mm.
like before you even see it. You know what I mean? It's something that I see in a lot of people, as they go throughout the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it shows like mentally too. Because like
Mm.
when you're just doing the same repetition and it's like you're not really on like any type of like intrigue to like keep yourself active or like for you to try new things, it
Hmm.
leaves you like isolated
Right.
unintentionally. And it leads you to just, a
Well,
lot
you're
of
just
things.
unaware at that point.
Yeah.
You're just like you're not turned on. You're just kind of like going through the motions, doing whatever it is you were doing
Mhm.
yesterday without thinking like, is this what I should be doing, right?
Yeah.
Um,
It's deep. It's very
when you
deep.
say machines, do you mean like sleep assist machines, or are you talking about like
Yeah,
exercise
sleep.
machines? Oh, sleep
Uh,
assist machines.
Sleep assist machines like the CPAP, BiPAP,
Hmm.
for those who have sleep apnea and everything, it's really
Yeah, yeah.
effective for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In terms of like making sure to breathe properly,
Yeah,
avoiding
I'm
like
not saying don't use that
yeah,
if you
yeah, no,
really need it. But if you're
right,
overweight, then it's definitely something you could work on.
right. And so with that said, it's like it's good that you're able to promote a good night's sleep and everything. But when you are active during the day and you're going out, you want to
Mm.
make sure that you're doing the right things that are gonna keep you going throughout the day. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're eating something or if you're drinking something that deep down your body's reacting to in a negative life, and you'll feel like the cramp or you'll feel like kind of slouchy or like irritated. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
body's telling you a lot of things more than you could even fathom, and you just gotta like take the time to actually like
Pay
really like
attention.
pay attention to what it is that you're feeling. So it's like that time, bro. Like oh man, I think it was like 2 a.m. I went to Popeyes, and I
Ooh.
swear to God, man, who doesn't love Popeyes at 2 a.m, man? Let me
I
tell you,
mean, come on, it's like Denny's at 5, you know.
it is, man. It's like who doesn't? So you go in and me, man, like I bought like a 5-piece like chicken strip meal with like large fries. I always get large fries because like I love
Mm,
the fries over at Popeyes. They're just
okay.
so
Okay.
addicting. So I did all that and like I downed that and then I went straight to bed. Like no type of hesitation whatsoever. I wake
Hmm.
up like 3 hours later to get up to go get ready to go to work. When I tell you, bro, how so like not only bloated, like uncomfortable, my whole
Yeah, you
stomach
probably
was
just
and
feel
everything.
awful.
Yeah, man. It's like that horrible feeling, man. And then it'll lead you to either one or two things. You're either gonna like go into the front or into the rear, not to like keep it to
Right,
like
right.
adjust it, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you may just be so stressed out that like you'll say something you didn't mean to say at work, or like you'll do something that you wouldn't have done if you weren't
Yeah,
sleep deprived or bloated from the food.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. It's a lot of things could happen throughout the day, man. But as far as like you, just if you're trying to avoid all these uncomfortable feelings within yourself physically, just make sure you pay attention to like what you eat and what you drink, and especially like how you keep yourself active throughout the day. You know what I
Yeah, how
mean?
you conduct yourself. I'm lucky. Like I work a sedentary job. I work as an engineer, but we have
Yeah,
standing desks, so we
yeah,
can just like press a button and make the desk rise, and we can work at our desk standing up. But a lot of people, they'll get to work, sit down, and then they won't move for 7 hours, right? And then they
yeah.
get up, and the only time they're moving is when they, go on their
Go
way
to
home.
the room
And
or
then
eating.
when they get home, they'll sit down, have dinner, whatever, and then that's pretty much like all of their standing time. So.
Yeah, man, I can't do that. I think the thing that like I enjoy about my job, and I work in with adults with disabilities for about a couple of years. But I
Mm.
think one of the things that I enjoy about my job is that you're always like moving throughout the day. Like in my room, we deal with more of low functioning population. We're more in the wheelchair and accessibility and like just more tube feeding and all that. So we provide more manual care. So
Mm.
we bathe them, we make sure we shower them and everything, make sure they're good to go for the day. Throughout the day we're feeding them, either through a G tube. Some of these guys like they get their stuff pureed, and throughout the whole time it's like you're learning of all these new things of how we administer medications, how we feed these guys, and overall how you provide like a better living for people that you support and everything. Folks who are not able to like go through things that we get to go through on a daily basis. You know what I mean? It's very deep. you know so when it comes to like whatever you do for a living, just make sure that you keep yourself active no matter what. Take that hour that you were sitting down at the desk, go take a walk, go get yourself some water or whatever. Maybe
Yeah.
go like bump into Johnny over there in cubicle 5 and like say, yo, bro,
Well,
you
I
good,
think
man?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, cause and it's crazy because it's like you take a walk or whatever, you see Johnny in cubicle 5, he's like fucking like, God damn it, this motherfucker. Just take a pat and like, yo, bro, you good? You all right? Everything good? How's your day looking? If he throws something at you like, man, this fucking computer or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, listen, man, about to be out here 2 hours, grab a brew, bro, or whatever. Whether it's gonna be with you, whether it's gonna be by himself, you know,
Right.
you keep that good energy. Even when you see bad energy, you keep that good energy for yourself going. Just redirect that shit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because you can proliferate your good energy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's good, good stuff, man.
Yeah. I love actually taking walks after lunch because if I go right back to my desk and I start working, luckily, I do the standing desk thing, but if I go for a walk outside, I feel rejuvenated just even by
Yeah,
that. So I'll
same
just
here.
walk for like 15 minutes
Yeah, man.
and then go back in. I mean, now that coronavirus is all around Tokyo, I'm not going to do that, but
No,
you get the idea. You get the idea.
man. I pray for you guys out there, man. For I get it though, man. I just crazy, bro.
Mhm.
Like crazy with this whole epidemic, how it's gotten everybody scared. But I think as long as you just take care of yourself, deep down, like what to do and what not to do. So just take care of yourself and just keep living. You know what I mean? That's all. That's all it is.
Awesome. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Anything else you want to talk about, Bobby? You want to add?
Uh, no, not really. The crazy thing is that like you guys just pretty much covered so much where it's like I didn't really need to, I didn't really need to speak too much because it's like as
Well, I
I,
mean, it's an interview, right? So
No.
we will prepare questions in advance and kind of ask you what your thoughts
no,
are on the
And
subject or whatever it is. And we did kind of veer off from mental health here a little bit, and that's okay. We enjoy going on these tangents, and again, this podcast is about talking about anything, so
yeah,
no
no,
problem
no, no,
here.
like
and the tangents is there. It was still linked up to mental health. Like you had the Joker,
Mhm.
and you see. If I haven't seen the Joker, but like even Joker as a character, that's
Mhm.
a whole can of worms of mental health that's going on in his head. That he just created a huge new idea to inspire more people to become like him or create that society of other people likewise.
yeah, most definitely. No, I think like the fact that you guys shared a lot of like the things that you feel that are important to you about mental health, and even like for you, Evan, like as far as like how you work throughout the day and like how you do something as simple as take those walks, like the
Yeah,
information
well, I
that you
think
all
good
like
habit
provided.
building. Good
Mhm.
Yeah,
habit building, that's the foundation, right? And
yeah,
like I learned from I think someone in his name is James Clear, and he talks about habits, and he has a book called what is it, Atomic Habits, that's the name of the
yeah,
book. uh, and he says that you shouldn't try to get rid of your bad habits, you should try to replace them with good ones,
yeah.
right? And absolutely, that's very true.
Deep.
Because once you have like a routine in lieu of that bad routine that you were doing, then you don't even have to think about it that much. And the rest is just removing any sort of distraction or temptation to go back to those bad habits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most
it's
definitely.
simple but effective. That's
It works, man. It's there's so much ways of like providing that growth and like that empowerment for yourself, man. It's out there, but
Mhm.
when it comes to like doing this, and again, you know, you guys really like just everything that we're doing like together, you know,
Mhm.
like it's really good stuff that can really create a lot of like opportunity and a lot of conversation for a lot of people out there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's wrap this up. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Angela and I really enjoyed having you, and I'm glad we got to talk about mental health as well as all the other subjects that we went on tangents on today. So
Mhm.
again, thanks for joining us, listeners. You can email us at tradingbrainspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's tradingbrainspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to leave any comments or content suggestions, what you want us to talk about in the future, and we're going to be posting on Facebook and Twitter about what episodes are to come and what segments we have. We already have Comic Companion, Destiny Corner, and just all sorts of things. So if you are interested in listening, by all means, give us a listen and share with your friends and family. And thanks again for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye,
peace
guys.
out, guys.